From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. Well, tonight we get our first look inside a Billings long-term care facility in the midst of the largest outbreak in Montana of COVID-19. Well, the U.S. approaches 4 million cases, and the president changes his tune and says we now should all wear masks. President Trump held his first coronavirus news conference in months today as dozens of states and the District of Columbia experience a rise in infections. Now, the presser came amid a new warning from the CDC about how many Americans are actually infected. Skylar Henry reports from the White House.
President Trump shifted his tone on the coronavirus pandemic as he held his first briefing on the virus since April.
It will probably, unfortunately, get worse before it gets better.
The president's decision to resume the briefings came with the U.S. approaching nearly 4 million cases of the virus, a number the CDC warns is likely much higher. Cases are skyrocketing in California and parts of the South.
We have embers and fires, and we have big fires, and unfortunately now Florida is in a little tough or in a big tough position.
Unlike the early months of the pandemic, the president also encouraged Americans to take mitigation measures seriously after he was seen attending a fundraiser without a mask Monday night.
We're instead asking Americans to use masks, socially distance, and employ vigorous hygiene.
President Trump held the nearly 30-minute briefing Tuesday without any of his public health experts at his side and took only a few questions.
Why are your doctors not with you here today? Where's Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx?
Well, Dr. Birx is right outside.
Earlier in the day, presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden, who wants to make testing more widely available, accused the president of giving up on the American people.
You know, he's quit on you, and he's quit on this country. But this election is not just about him. It's about us.
On Capitol Hill, Trump administration officials and lawmakers continue negotiations on a Phase 4 relief bill that's estimated to cost at least $1 trillion. Administration officials say a deal on the next stimulus bill could come by the end of the month. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Well, President Trump says he's willing to work with China on a coronavirus vaccine if necessary and plans to hold more news conferences over the next few weeks. There are now 13 deaths at a Billings long-term care facility, the deadliest COVID-19 outbreak in Montana. Just yesterday, employees with Kelch Communities, the company that owns Canyon Creek, traveled to Billings from Washington State for what they called a day focused on the residents and employees. County health officials say the latest victim, a woman in her 90s, passed away at Canyon Creek yesterday. Again, this is the 13th death in the last 15 days tied to the outbreak at that facility. Well, tonight, for the first time, we are hearing from leaders of Canyon Creek Memory Care Facility. The outbreak there happened after the facility refused voluntary testing for the state of Montana. And as our Andrea Lutz reports, officials with Canyon Creek say those voluntary tests would have only provided a snapshot of results for a small moment in time.
Traveling to Billings from Washington State for the first time since COVID-19 appeared in their facility, leaders of Kelch Communities say their primary focus is on residents and staff.
It's been a busy time and they come first. We have to make sure that we're taking care of them.
Chief Operating Officer Eva Arendt says that's why officials haven't addressed questions publicly yet regarding why voluntary testing was initially refused.
So we opted out, as did, I believe, 100 other communities in the state of Montana.
Kelch, a family-owned business out of Olympia, Washington, operates over 30 facilities in 8 states. During a Zoom call the day after leaders, including the company's CEO, left Billings, they say they stand by their decision to opt out, but did promptly take measures to ensure there was no cross-contamination when the virus was initially discovered.
All it would do is give us a picture of those results for that moment in time. Residents could be exposed or staff could be exposed the very next day and test positive later in the week.
But Arendt says they want the public to know administering a COVID test to a dementia patient is complex.
The deep nasal swab test is invasive, and to a person who does not understand what is happening, it can be very scary for them.
The outbreak started with a resident who tested positive at the hospital on June 30th. The state offered its free testing in mid-June.
We have put in place policies and procedures that we feel have protected our residents well. I mean, it is June 30th when Canyon Creek had their unfortunate outbreak. And though we've been in the throes of a pandemic since late February.
Currently, 43 of its residents have tested positive with COVID-19. 2 are currently negative. Reporting in Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
All right, thanks, Andrea. And we do want to point out that there is currently no federal testing requirements, and the rules apply differently in every state. Now, those with Canyon Creek say more testing is happening now, with one round already finished and another round of COVID testing on the way. We are also hearing tonight from the daughter of a Canyon Creek patient who recovered from COVID-19 about her experience with the facility's staff. This is 91-year-old Janet Jordan, who's been living in Canyon Creek since April of 2019. Janet's daughter, Karen, said her mother contracted COVID-19 about 3 weeks ago after coming back to Canyon Creek following hip surgery. Karen said Canyon Creek staff kept her well informed about the situation in the facility, receiving around 10 emails from the staff after the very first positive case. Staff provided many opportunities for the family to call and even video chat with their mother while visitation is restricted.
I can't stress enough how caring the staff has been, how well the staff has taken care of her, and how loving and compassionate they've been. And that is very humbling to us as a family, that there is a place where our mom can be, where we feel that she's well cared for and loved. That's priceless to us.
Karen says her mother didn't experience many symptoms other than feeling more run down than usual. She didn't need to be on oxygen or a ventilator while fighting COVID-19. Well, yesterday's death marks the 18th here in Yellowstone County, and it's the 40th across Montana. In addition to the new death, the state reported 97 new cases today. Gallatin County added the most new cases with 18, while Yellowstone County recorded another 14. Montana now has more than 1,100 active cases with 49 patients hospitalized. Yesterday, Wyoming reported the largest single-day increase in COVID-19 cases since the pandemic began in March, leading to another death this afternoon, bringing the total now to 25. Wyoming has now surpassed the 1,800 mark for confirmed cases. Of those, more than 1,300 have now recovered. Well, school starts on August 24th for Billings students, either online or in the classroom. The Teachers Union president said today that a good portion of its members want to go back, even if they're a little worried about the unknowns. Q2's Mitch Legge brings us more.
On the cusp of a new school year, some union members with the Billings Education Association are ready to get back into the classroom. Others are more hesitant due to underlying health conditions of themselves or family members.
We have a lot of educators that are in the risk group. We have a lot of senior educators and a lot of younger ones that have health concerns or underlying health concerns, or they have young children at home. And so just making sure that they feel safe and that they feel like we've done everything possible to manage those risks, I think is important.
Shilriff is the president of the union and has been in talks with the school district and superintendent since May on plans for the upcoming school year. Teachers who are usually prepping for classes in late July are faced with uncertainty. Many don't know whether they will be teaching online or in person.
I think they're trying to deal with that feeling of man, it's time to get back and it's time to get to do the job that I love, but also with that, I don't even know what it's going to look like. And so all of my plans and stuff have nowhere to land because we don't know what it looks like. So what I'm just hearing from them is that they want a plan.
Shilriff said there's a survey out now to union members asking for their input on the back to school plan, but she's heard that teachers are concerned for the safety and education of their students.
Overall, our teachers are worried, one, about their students and making sure that they're safe and healthy. They're worried about their education. You don't get into teaching unless you worry about your students. And so that's one of theirs. And then they're worried about their families themselves, making sure that they're able to do what they're passionate about, but making sure that their families are safe as well.
In Billings, Mitch Legge, MTN News.
All right, thank you, Mitch. The teachers union is currently in contract negotiations with the union. Shilriff said the new online working conditions will be a part of those negotiations. All right, turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire, and if today wasn't quite hot enough for you, well, tomorrow.
Yeah, wait till you see tomorrow. Now, if we get to 99 or 100 degrees, that will qualify as the hottest day of the year. Previously, the hottest day of the year was June 13th. We got the 96 degrees and also 96 degrees on July 17th. But when was the last time we were going to be this hot into the hundreds? Let me go back. We had to go back a little bit. August 12th, we had 103 degrees in 2018. The day before that, 102 on August 11th, and before that we got on July 6th, 2018, went up to 100 degrees. We actually had no 100-degree days at all in 2019. So it looks like tomorrow could be one, not quite for the record books, but it's going to be a pretty hot one, and we'll have more about that in a few more minutes. Russ?
All right, thank you, Bob. 2 people are dead following 2 fatal crashes in Yellowstone County that we first told you about as breaking news last night. The first accident on I-94 East near Lockwood happened just before 9 last night. A white Dodge pickup in the left lane was passing a black Chevy pickup in the right lane. The driver of the Dodge moved over too soon, clipped the Chevy. The Dodge rolled multiple times, and the 48-year-old male driver was ejected and died on the scene. He was not wearing a seatbelt. His name has not been released. The driver of the Chevy was not injured in that crash. And the second crash is being investigated as a hit and run. It happened about 50 minutes later on 72nd Street West and Laurel Airport Road. 2 people on a motorcycle were rear-ended by a sedan. One of the motorcycle riders died on the scene. The Montana Highway Patrol says the sedan fled, and at this time no suspects are in custody. A description of the suspect vehicle hasn't been released. There's no word on the condition of the second rider right now. Well, as Billings schools prepare to open in a couple of weeks, one of the big questions is how will the kids do wearing masks? The concern is that it will be tough to keep kids masked up, especially young kids who may not understand the importance of facial coverings. At the Boys and Girls Clubs in Billings, the experience of masks and kids has been positive so far with very few problems.
I was worried about it, I got to be honest, and I have been just pleased. Like I said, other than a few minor issues, and you know, we had a member that we have some asthma concerns, you know, some of that sort of stuff, which you're going to have. The kids have really blown what I was expecting away. I mean, they've really done a nice job. We've been real intentional about how we plan our day, give them a chance to get outside, take their masks off every hour or so. So we've been intentional trying some different things, but the kids have just kind of taken it in stride. It's actually been probably harder for me to remember to grab it off my desk and take it with me everywhere I go.
The Boys and Girls Club started to require masks last week when Governor Bullock issued his directive. Dennis said a letter was sent to parents to explain the new policy, and so far he says the switch to masks has been a big thumbs up. Still to come on the MTN News at 10 here on Q2. First, it was an ad attacking Bullock. Now we dive into and find the truth behind a healthcare ad attacking his November competitor. And in sports, Scott's up at Rocky where the Bears are moving ahead with football, but not all the other Frontier Conference teams are. He'll explain in just a bit.